buddy Tom is also an alumni of the Islander Ohana. Does Hawaii have green space zoning rules that limits how much of your land you can build on? Wouldn't that limit endless lanai building? Yeah, you can't have endless no matter what, whether there's limits or not. We can't have endless. But anyway, but I'm sure there are. Heidi, let's do Heidi and then Scott on Tom's question. Heidi, is there what are the greens? I'm sure there are. What do you know of what the green space zoning rules are in Maui, or does it vary, or how would you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, there are limitations depending on what type of zoning you are, like how close you could build to the edge of a lot. Um, Lanais are a way that, I mean, people don't necessarily get permits to extend lanais often. So it's kind of an easy way to extend your living space. Like if, for example, in an agricultural area, if you're on a lot that's been CPR'd and you're limited to 1,000 square foot of interior living space because you have that cottage portion of the CPR, people will build 1,000 square foot cottage to comply with the zoning rules and then build another 1,000 square feet of lanai. So it's interesting. But
It's
yeah,
kind of
always important to know, I mean, what the zoning rules are.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's all kinds of ways to bend that rule too, because you could probably extend the lanai right to the property line if you don't cover it up to the property line. So Scott must know more about that. Scott, what not know more about that, but Scott can add some more about that. Scott, what's your answer to Tom's green space zoning rule question?
Yeah, I think here we break the rules rather than bend them, right? or we do both. Yeah, actually, there's a couple of components on every island is different for zoning, so you need to check per island. For Oahu, there's what we call a floor area ratio or FAR. There's a calculation that you have to do that's based on your lot size. Then they just passed about 2 years ago, based on Monster Home, how much of your lot has to be permeable, meaning it can't be solid surface. It has to be able to absorb moisture into the ground. They don't want people concreting their entire properties. It causes flood issues. But to your point about side setbacks and things like that, the reason that's there is so people don't build to their property line. Your house catches on fire, it catches the neighbor's house on fire, catches the neighbor's house on fire. I ran into that on the Big Island. I had an investment property where this guy had added on to my house. I had to go to court to do a summary possession to get rid of the guy. And I had my contractor over there. He had done a bunch of damage, and he had built out to the property line, and it was dangerous. And, that liability was actually going to come back on me. So yeah, there's all sorts of issues or sorts of rules and whatnot. And then the question is do we follow them? Because a lot of people here in Hawaii will, especially with a covered lanai, you just extend out and you don't get the permit for it. So you can have the space that you want.
And it can be sort of a pseudo temporary structure. So that if you have to bring it into compliance, if you get busted, whatever, it's not that big of a deal to kind of tear down that covering that you may have built. It's not that big of a thing. But yeah,